Shalom, shalom. Good morning, good morning. It is September the 4th, 2025. It is 10:37 a.m. Uh, Pure ignorance is running rapid. It is ridiculous. Um, it is mind-blowing how many people believe that what they believe to be true and or their opinion about something overrides what anyone else can bring to the conversation or can have knowledge of. I have no understanding. I like to choose my words carefully because I do understand. But it irks me. Maybe I should just say that. It irks me to my core to talk to people who are just pure ignorant. They choose to be ignorant. Pure ignorance is ridiculous. We have too many resources in this world at our fingertips for us to walk around arrogantly thinking that we hold the key to all information. Thinking that we hold the key to all information and everything that we know and or believe to be true is accurate. That there's no room for error in how we think, how we see things, what we believe in. If you are someone who believes that everything that you possess in your brain to be the truth or how things are supposed to be or knowledge of life, and you don't think that there's any room for error, you're operating out of pure ignorance. You're operating out of pure ignorance. I'm a little upset right this morning, just a little bit, not really. Not really. But it really just to think about having conversations with people and you state something that is factual. And when I say something that's factual, I mean something that has been proven, something that has been tested, something that has been verified, something that has been put to the test. Something that has been put to the test, and someone else comes along and they disregard what you have to say based off of their opinion or based off of somewhat truthful information, but a bias, coming from a biased standpoint and not really coming from a place of unbiased research. And what I mean by unbiased research, what I mean is if you come across any information, whether someone is speaking it, someone has written it, verbally or written information, and it goes against what you believe is true about that topic, if it differs from what you believe is true, instead of taking a moment and double checking your information and balancing that information off of what they're saying, like you research into the information that they're presenting and you compare the information that they're presenting with the information that you hold to be true, and then you come to a unbiased understanding, which means you actually receive information from this side and you receive information from that side, and you bring them together to develop a unbiased understanding of what's really the truth. That's what I mean when I say unbiased, right? But if you have a belief in your mind or understanding in your mind, whether it doesn't matter if it's an educated understanding and or if it's a personal understanding or some type of understanding that you receive from childhood, right? And you have always believed in this, and in your mind you receive confirmation of the accuracy because of those around you who also believe like you, and you've never cross-examined that belief with someone else's belief who differs in how they see things, then you are operating in pure ignorance. You are operating in pure ignorance. And that is not a good thing. That's not a good way to be. Right? That's not a good thing to be. And it irks me when I have these conversations with people who think that their opinion overrides someone else's information that they're presenting, that they actually did the time and put forth the time and effort to research the information to bring about what they're speaking of. Let me give y'all an example, because I think I just jumped in. I think I just jumped in on this live and just started going in. So let me give you an example, right? Because I need for us all to get to a point where we, instead of debating, instead of arguing, instead of just wanting to go back and forth with someone to prove that you know more than them, instead of having this mindset that you're right and you're going to prove somebody else wrong when they bring about some information that is different from the information that you present or have been presented or are presenting. Look, this is the example. Okay, so someone asked in a group, how is there, is there any natural remedies to cure a UTI? And a lot of people were saying, you need to just go to the doctor and get a prescription. You need to go to the doctor and get an antibiotic. You need to go to the doctor and do this and do that, because there's no home remedies. There's no home remedies. There's no natural way to fix this, is what they were saying. There's no natural way to fix this. You need to go to the doctor and get a prescription. And on one hand, that's good information. That's good advice on one hand. Like some things you don't want to play around with. You want to go ahead on and dad it and fix it, right? On one hand. But then on another hand, when someone is looking for information, they already know 9 times out of 10 that the situation is serious and that going to the doctor to get a prescription or antibiotic is what is needed. But the question on the table was, is there anyone who know of a home remedy? So if you don't know of any home remedies, then the idea of letting them know that you need to go to a doctor, that is already obsolete. That is already, it goes without saying. This person already knows that they need to go to the doctor and get some type of antibiotic. They already know that they need, let me put it like that. They already know that they need an antibiotic. But what they are looking for is a home remedy. So when someone who has information of home remedies come up in the conversation and say, oh yeah, I do know of a home remedy that will work. Those people who said that there is no home remedy, 9 times out of 10 have never taken the time to research beyond their understanding and knowledge of antibiotics and how they work. They never researched anything other than antibiotics. So if you've never researched anything other than antibiotics, then clearly you would not know of anything other than an antibiotic. That doesn't mean that there's nothing else out there. It just means that you have never taken the time to research anything other than antibiotics. So your knowledge, your research is limited because you didn't go beyond the scope of antibiotics. But to say that the person who is presenting information outside of antibiotics is wrong and that they are misleading people and this, then the third, and you've never done your research in that area, that is pure ignorance. It's pure ignorance. And then for you to speak against it with such conviction and with your chest poked out like what you're saying is 100% accurate and true, it is wrong. And then to reject and or refuse to do your own research and to expect for the person who is presenting new information to the conversation to have to prove their stance makes absolutely no sense. So when you're operating out of that type of mindset, you are leaning and giving yourself over to just willingly being ignorant because you have limited your understanding. You have limited your ability to grow. And like I said, then to debate, to dispute, to argue with someone else who's bringing in some new information, and you never researched that information, you've never attempted to apply this information in your life, you don't know nothing about this information, but to speak so wholeheartedly against it is wrong. It is wrong. And that is the example that I'm going to use because hopefully that makes sense, right? Hopefully it makes sense. And it's also a real life example. I've just experienced this a couple of days ago, where this 100%, this whole scenario played out, right? This whole scenario played out. And I am just really baffled by people who really think that the information that they have is all the information that is available to us and that there's no other options and or alternatives to situations. The information that you have may have some truth in it. It may have some validity to it, but it does not mean that that's the only factual information that's available. But just because you don't have that information, or that the information that somebody else is presenting is different from yours, it does not discredit their information. It does not discredit their knowledge. It does not discredit what they are presenting. It just means that that's an untapped territory that you don't know anything about. And the best thing for you to do in that instance is not to dispute with that person, is not to debate with that person, is not to argue with that person, it's not even to make that person out to look like they don't know what they're talking about. In that instance, that is the perfect opportunity for you to shut up, get the information that they're talking about, and do some research. If you really believe that a person is saying something that is incorrect compared to the information that you're saying, take your time to verify the information that they're saying or not verify. And when I say not verified, I mean go and do the research to either prove that what they're saying is correct or prove that what they're saying is incorrect. But in the process of you doing that, you're going to come up with some information. You're going to find something out for yourself. Now you can really attribute your information to either be proven correct or incorrect. But the problem is, and I truly believe, hey Joseph, good to see you. But the problem I really believe is this. People don't want to prove that they're wrong. People don't want to possibly prove that they're wrong. People don't want to possibly prove that the information that you're sharing is correct. People don't want to put forth the effort because people really want to believe that they know what they know. People really want to believe that they are correct. People don't want to be wrong. So when someone is challenging your knowledge, your information, and or facts that someone else is presenting, and they are going in hard, that should be a red flag, because why are you going so hard against what someone else is presenting? And you haven't done the time, you haven't put forth the time, the effort, the energy to research this information, to verify it. But yet you want to knock it down, you want to tear it down. You want to go against it, right? You want to go against it. It makes no sense. It's just like whenever I come up here and I'm breaking down scriptures, just because you have never heard the scriptures broken down like that before, or maybe, or just because you're not used to someone saying the things that I say, You can't just discredit what I'm saying because it goes against what you believe or what you have always heard, or the, breakdown or explanation of those scriptures that you are used to hearing. Take the time to do your own research, right? Take the time to do your own research, because according to Proverbs chapter 18, people who have this mindset, people who operate like this, they are fools, number one. It says, a fool hath no delight in understanding. A person who don't want to understand the truth, but they want to consistently believe what they speak, what they feel, or how they feel, is more relevant than when somebody else speaks something that's opposite. It says, a fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. That's what the KJV say, right? But let's look into what other translations say, so we can get a little more understanding, right? So it can make it, make that verse a little more plain. A little more plain. Hey, Aretha, good to see you. So the NIV breaks it down like this. It says, fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. A person who is a fool in this reference, in this regard, when you're having a conversation with them and you're bringing some information to the table that may be different, like I said, and then they want to voice their opinion, but their opinion has so much weight and so much relevance in their mind, and they are interjecting their opinion to the point of thinking that their opinion outweigh facts. That person is a fool. That person is a fool, because that same person, when you tell them to go and do their research, they will laugh in your face, because to them, when you tell them to go do their own research, they look at that as a way of you saying that you are wrong, and that you're claiming that you yourself, the person who's telling them to go do the research, they're looking at you like you're telling them to do something that is going to be wasting their time. They don't even think that that's a logical explanation. They don't even consider the fact of going and do research, because to them, there's no research to be done. So that is a foolish type person, a person who would reject someone saying, go and do the research. Oh, no, I don't need to go do the research. Or they'll laugh at you. They will laugh at you as if you telling them to go do the research means that I don't want to prove what I'm saying is true. I don't want to prove what I'm saying is true. But my thing is, why should the person who has done the research prove to the person who has not done the research that what they're bringing to the table is actually true? That's another way that you can identify a fool. Someone who refuses to do their own research, but then expect for the person who is bringing information to the table to present to them research. Only so that if you do give them the research and the evidence, only so they can still discredit it. Then they will come up with some other logical in their mind, some other made up logical reason for them still disregarding the information that you're giving them. So the best thing would be for them to do their own research. But fools don't want to do research. They don't want to do research. They just want to laugh and mock and scoff at you and make you look and or feel like you're dumb, stupid, unintelligent, like you're the ignorant one. Like you are the one who don't have any understanding. It's pure ignorance, people. It is pure ignorance when someone is presenting information that could help you. It can help you grow. It can help you learn a new avenue. It can help you in so many different ways. But you reject that information because it is different from what you already hold to be true. That's pure ignorance. You are choosing to be ignorant. What does the word ignorant mean? Lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. You are choosing to not understand. You don't want to understand. You just want to be right. You just want to be right and or heard. One of the two, if not both. You just want to be heard. You just want to be right. And you don't want to look as if you have no understanding. That's arrogance. That's arrogance. That's pride. That's what that is. That's self-righteousness. All of that is wrong. All of that is bad. All of that. So I like to encourage you all. I would like to encourage you all that anytime someone presents some information, I don't care what type of information. I don't care if it's dealing with biblical understanding, world views, world health, politics even. Because you have these people who are so bent on being a lifelong supporter of certain parties without even really doing their research. And when I say research, I'm talking about historic research to get a greater understanding of how each party was formed and why those parties was formed. Like, people refuse to do more research into what they have attached themselves to. People refuse to do that. And it baffles me. But like I was saying, whenever someone is presenting information to you, or you come across information that someone is sharing, and it differs from your standpoint, or it differs from your beliefs, or it differs from your understanding, it differs from what you have been taught. And for some of you, it differs from what you teach. Instead of only researching that information that aligns with what you believe, research the information that goes against what you believe. Research the information that goes against what you have been taught. Research the information that goes against you. Research that information that goes against you. Because you might find that the information has some validity to it. You might find that information has some truth to it. You might just find that the information that you have been believing in can be disproven. But to outright say with your whole chest and with your head high how that person is wrong, and you have not taken the time, put in the effort, nor done any research in that topic, in that area whatsoever, and you want to discredit that person, you are walking in pure ignorance. You are walking in pure ignorance. And you need to cut that out. You need to cut that out. You need to cut that out, because that's going to harm you more than it's going to help you. It's going to harm you more than it's going to help you. Yeah. And I know some of you all have seen this. Some of you all have witnessed this, like I said, the example that I gave, the person came on and they wanted to know, was there any natural remedies, which means they already know that they have to go to the doctor. That's an option. Going to the doctor and getting a prescription, an antibiotic, is an option, but they don't want that option. They're looking for a home remedy. So for people to then chime in and say, oh, now you got to go to the doctor. This is something that can only be cured by going to a doctor. But you've never done any research to see if there's anything that can actually fix the problem other than going to the doctor. Like, what do you think people used to do before there were doctors? What do you think people used to do before the pharmaceutical companies were created? What do you think people did before we had scientists? The things that we deal with in this life, disease-wise, a lot of these things been around for forever. So with them being around for forever, there were some kind of cure for those things, some type of remedies. But just because we are so used to going to the doctor for everything, every time we got a problem, every time we got an issue, every time we got an ailment, we feel like we have to go to the doctor. But according to scripture, didn't Don't scripture tells us that for every illness and disease, there's herbs for it? There's herbs for it. But a person who only went to the medical field, a person who only knows about the medical world, a person who has only tapped into that area and never considered herbs, would instantly think that there's no herbal remedy. Oh, herbs don't work. You will probably think that. But just because you think that does not mean that that is true. Just because that's how you see it does not mean that that is true. Just because you have knowledge in this area only does not mean that knowledge over here does not exist and has been proven to actually work. So it just irks me, y'all. It just irks me. So yeah, it just irks me that we have people who are so gung-ho on being right in their stance and not understanding that when someone presents information that differs from yours, instead of instantly discrediting them and knocking them down and saying that their information is inaccurate, take the time and actually research it for yourself first. Do some due diligence and research it for yourself first. Even when it comes to scripture. Just because you've been hearing certain things taught all your life does not mean that it's true. I've said this numerous times. Just because people have been teaching us things from childhood up to our adulthood and we hear numerous people saying the same thing does not mean it's true, y'all. It don't mean it's true. But unfortunately, for those of us who are lazy, those of us who don't really care to put forth the work, those of us who really don't desire to dig deeper, those of us who just want to give us quick, simple, fast answer, will just attach themselves to what has always been taught and just leave it at that. Just leave it at that. Yeah. I ain't gonna hold y'all. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I just wanted to put that out there because we gotta stop doing it, y'all. We gotta stop disputing, debating, and arguing with people who have something that differs from what we have. We gotta stop it. We gotta stop it. Especially if you have not done the research for yourself in that area in which they're talking about. You can't speak against something you know nothing about. You cannot. You cannot speak against something you know nothing about. And when I say you know nothing about, I'm talking about in that area in which that they're presenting information for. You can't. And you do not know anything about, I'm going to bring this back to the biblical sense. You don't know anything about biblical understanding if the only way you've ever received biblical knowledge is through the mouth of somebody else. So you have no place to stand to argue with someone else if you have never taken the time to research scriptures for yourself. And I'm not talking about just reading them. I'm talking about researching, going back and breaking things down, getting an understanding of really what is being said, how the Bible was constructed, how this happened. Like, you have to go deeper into the history of everything. That's what I'm talking about. So if the only understanding that you really have of scripture is what you have been being fed through sermons and through motivational speeches and through going to church only, what someone else says out of their mouth, and you yourself have never taken the time to research it, you have no ground to try to stand up and argue, debate, and or dispute what someone else is saying that differs from what you know, because you know nothing. You know absolutely nothing. You know nothing. You just soaked up information that someone else has told you, and you accepted it as the truth. And you have no stance. You have no stance. We just got to stop doing this, y'all. We got to stop it. It's pure ignorance. It's pure ignorance. It's pure ignorance. pure ignorance. Again, I say that because I said it in other videos, but I haven't said it in this video. I don't know it all. I never said that I know it all. I'm learning new stuff every day that goes against and challenge what I thought I knew. When I come across new information and I do my research, if it proves that my information is incorrect, you know what I do? I change how I see things. I change what I believe, because now I have new evidence. I have new information. I have proof now that can disprove me. The information that I believe to be true, without me verifying it for myself, I cannot sit up here and argue and or debate about it. I can't. I don't. I had to learn that the hard way, because I used to be one of these gung-ho Christians. I used to be one of those gung-ho Christians where someone says anything that differs from my belief, I would challenge them. Not challenge them in a way that I wanted them to prove me wrong, but I would challenge them to make them feel small and little and less than and ignorant, to the point where you need to do your research. But I was the one who needed to do my research. I didn't know. I was the one who needed to do my research. But we have so many people who don't think that they could be wrong. We have so many of us who don't think that we ourselves are walking in error. And so therefore we disregard anyone else who comes up and try to show us something differently. I ain't gonna hold y'all. Y'all have a wonderful Thursday.